Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to a special edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. So GP Pittsburgh has come and gone, and we've seen some more changes this weekend to the standard meta. We're going to talk about those a little bit today, and we'll also look at some Aether Revolt cards, the ones that are trending a little bit hotter and the ones that are trending colder, and see where they stand right now when it comes to their place in the market. Having said that, before we get started, just a quick reminder, if you check out the description below, you'll find a couple ways that you can help support us. One of which is the Amazon affiliate store. Any purchases you make through any links from that store, a small percentage will come back to help support the channel. You'll also find links to our Patreon page down below. It's another way to support us, and we've made some changes to the page recently. We have new rewards as well as new goals, and check out the Patreon page for details as to how to get your official Heroes and Legends Angel token that you see here on the screen. They came out looking really awesome, so check that out if you get a chance. All right, having said that, let's talk about GP Pittsburgh and exactly what was going on this weekend. All right, so we kind of have a rock, paper, scissors sort of metagame at this point. The Felidar Guardian Saheeli combo decks are still doing okay. They're still alive and well. Not dominant, but they're showing up. We got one in the top 8 this weekend, and you're seeing a couple different versions of those still. There's kind of an energy version as well as your more probably classic control version of these decks. So they're out there, they're doing just fine, and it does appear that maybe this is one of the 3 pillars of what the metagame is evolving into at this point. The second deck, of course, probably no surprise if you watched the Pro Tour, that did really well was Mardu Vehicles. We saw 2 of those in the top 8 this weekend, and Mardu Vehicles, you would have to assume after its dominant performance at the Pro Tour, players are going into GP Pittsburgh thinking one of 2 things. Either I'm going to play Mardu Vehicles, the deck looks amazing, or I'm going to play something that's good against Mardu Vehicles. So as you could imagine, there was a good percentage of the field running this deck, and it still performed very well. And not only did it have 2 copies in the top 8, but you saw a fair amount scattered around the top 32. And finally, the third pillar right now of the format is Golgari decks. There's a couple variants to these. I mean, there's like more of an aggro version. There's the Delirium deck, of course, and there's an energy version of the deck. Within the top 8, though, we saw 5 Golgari decks, and we did see 1 energy version, and there was a little mixture of the different types, but still, if you go beyond the top 8 into the top 32, Golgari, Golgari, Golgari. So a huge week for Golgari. Main reason for that, though, was the fact that this is a great matchup against Mardu Vehicles. And I talked about this a little bit in last week's video. No surprise, if you're really following the meta close, that when a deck does well, we saw it 2 weeks ago, right? The Saheeli combo decks did awesome. We're approaching the Pro Tour. What do folks want to play? Mardu Vehicles. It was a good foil to that deck. So here we are a week later. Mardu Vehicles was super dominant. What are people going to play? They're going to play Golgari decks this time around because it's a good foil to those Mardu Vehicles decks. So that sets up really where the meta is right now. It's kind of like pick one of those 3 decks. You're going to have a good matchup against one of the other 2. You're going to have a bad matchup against one of the other 2. And I hope you're really good in the mirror. And that's really where the tiebreaker is going to come. So I think in this standard environment, at least until it shifts or changes, or maybe another deck can squeeze in there. And we've seen that before, like a Blue White Flash did that. They kind of showed up a little bit late to the party last time around, but then it was like super dominant, right? So that could happen. But if these 3 remain the pillars, really your focus should be on the mirror matchups because that's where you're going to win or lose. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens over the next few weeks. There's other decks out there too. I mean, don't count out things like Selesnya Tokens. I think the only reason that deck is flying under the radar right now is because it didn't get a lot of camera time at the Pro Tour, but it still did really well at the Pro Tour. It just was a smaller percentage of the field. It is a deck that could show up and all of a sudden take a tournament or a GP just kind of out of nowhere. So it's definitely one you want to keep on the radar as well. So having said that, let's talk about some prices of these cards. We're going to talk about Aether Revolt cards that lost value this week. Coming in at number 5 is Walking Ballista, down 57 cents to $11.99. So no surprise for me here. This is a rare. It's from Aether Revolt. Lots and lots of packs are being opened, and it's just going to be really hard in this day and age for a rare to keep that kind of value attached to it. A mythic maybe, but a rare, even if it saw 4 ofs in every single deck in the top 8, the card's probably going to eventually get to the point where it's only an $8, $9 card. We saw that with Smother's Copter, right? So because of that, this card's going to keep declining. More packs are going to be open. More players are going to get their copies. The demand's going to go down. The supply is going to go up. And eventually, I think this card reaches the $5 to $6 mark. And it could sit there for a little while as long as it stays dominant in the meta. And there's no reason to think that it wouldn't. Coming in number 4 is Tezzeret Simulacrum, down 82 cents to $1.74. So I talked about this at great length last week, so I don't want to spend too much time on it, but quick story if you missed it last week. Coming into the Pro Tour, there was some folks brewing around this card. There was speculation this could be a breakout card. There could be a breakout deck in the Pro Tour with this card. And what was awkward was you couldn't get it in Aether Revolt packs. You can only find copies in the Tezzeret Planeswalker pack, which runs about $15, but you do get 3 of those in the pack if you buy it. And you can get those things anywhere. I mean, they're at LGSs, they're at Targets, they're at Walmarts. But the thing is, the secondary market, where a lot of people are used to picking their cards up from in this day and age, you didn't see many on there because you didn't have a lot of secondary sellers breaking that product to sell singles from it. There were a few Tezzeret Masters of Metal out there, but they don't really need to break that much product. And because of that, this card was really hard to find in online marketplaces. It caused a spike, and then, of course, the Pro Tour happened, and nothing happened with this card. So it's on its way back, down, and this thing's going to continue to plummet at this point. So if you have someone interested in picking up a copy from you for $1 or $2, I'd go ahead and sell these if you have extras on hand. All right, coming in number 3 is a Johnny Unyielding, down 86 cents to $6.99. It's kind of what I predicted for this card over the last few weeks. It is seeing play in the Selesnya Tokens decks, usually as a 1 or 2 of. It's great in that deck, but it's not going to be a super versatile Planeswalker because it is 2 colors and it is 6 casting cost. So you're not going to see 4 of these in a deck or anything like that. And as more packs get open, you would imagine the price for a card like that would settle into probably the $5-6 range more than anything. And if the Selesnya Tokens decks start to fall off the radar, then it could even go lower, but I'm holding out hope that those decks hang in there. Coming in at number 2, Tezzeret the Schemer, down $1.30 to $9.99. This is another one. The potential is here for this card. This card will see standard play. It just hasn't fit into the current meta at this point. Because of that, it will continue to drop. And unless there is a breakout deck over the next few weeks, this will probably get down to the $5-6 range at some point. However, watch out for this card in the future. And if you can pick these up for maybe under $7 or something like that, it might not be a bad pickup because I do see this becoming a standard playable card in the future. Maybe when Amonkhet comes out, I do feel like it will get some support cards once we go into a world that's ruled by Bolas, right? So this is definitely one to watch in the future. And coming in at number 1, Heart of Kiran, down $1.32 to $23.01. A number of reasons for this. The first and probably biggest reason is it had a huge spike based off the hype of the Pro Tour and those Mardu Vehicles decks being so dominant. So it had a very unnatural spike. So that is going to slingshot back a little bit. Secondly, the Mardu decks didn't look quite as strong this weekend at GP Pittsburgh because the Golgari decks really put them in check. So again, players started to realize that they do have other options. They don't have to go with this particular deck. They could go Golgari. They could even go with Saheeli Combo or tokens. There's a few other options out there. So because of that, again, some of the spotlight's off this card. And finally, maybe most importantly in the long term, more packs are being opened. So the players that want copies of this card are getting copies. This is a mythic. It will hold its value a little bit better, but it is going to continue to go down because the demand is going to eventually dwindle a little bit and the supply is going to keep going. I see this card settling in maybe around $12-15 in the not too distant future. All right, let's talk about cards that gained a value this week. Coming at number 5 is Yahenni, Undying Partisan. Now, this is only up 4 cents to $1.18, so there's not a whole lot of logic behind this. Whenever you see a movement that's under probably 10 cents, it might be an indicator, but nothing really major is going on with this card this week. Coming in number 4 is Glint Sleeve Siphoner, up 7 cents to $1.99. Again, another indicator, but it does indicate that there is a strong interest in some of these Golgari decks, and this is a key component in many of them. Coming in number 3, Winding Constrictor, up 13 cents to $1.42. Now, this is a much more telling card to me because, yes, it's only gone up 13 cents, but this is an uncommon in a set that is being opened in large quantities right now. That just goes to show you how impactful this card is right now in the metagame, especially coming out of the GP this weekend. Those Golgari decks, I mentioned there were different variants of them. Well, one thing that they all have in common is this card right here, Winding Constrictor. So this is going to definitely be the second biggest uncommon of the set after Fatal Push. Coming in at number 2, Release the Gremlins, up 18 cents to 58 cents. It's a rare, not very expensive at all to pick up, but again, another indicator that a lot of folks are looking for different sideboard tech to deal with Mardu vehicles, especially mirror matches. So this is one to watch in the future. I think it will climb. It's not going to be a huge price tag card or anything like that, but I could see this thing getting up to maybe the $2 or even $3 range over time. Coming in at number 1, Aspire of Industry, up 50 cents to 5.35. And I do feel like this card was maybe a little undervalued during the pre-release season, which is unusual. Typically cards are overvalued during that time period, but this is one that maybe was not on some folks' radar. And if you want to play 3-4 colors in standard and you have a few cheap artifacts, which most decks do, especially with Kaladesh block being so prominent right now, then you're going to go to this card and it just kind of automatically becomes a standard staple. I do think it will continue to rise a little bit. You do have to take into account that it is a rare, so it's not a mythic. It's going to have a little bit of a hard time holding value, but I think it's going to be universally played enough that I could see this card sitting around the $5 to $7 range, at least for a little while. So if you are looking to use this card or play multicolor decks in standard over the next few months, then yeah, I would go ahead and pick this up for $5, $6 if you can find it for that price. I do think it's going to be a little time before the demand's met on this particular card. Having said that, that's the Market Watch special edition for this week. So this will be the last week that I talk about Aether Revolt and zero in on that in particular. Next week, I will talk about a completely new topic, but we'll still have a special edition of the Market Watch. Until then, hey, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible by the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.